Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kayce, and today what we're going to be working on is a speed build for my entrance. This speed build took me quite a long time and I think it was well worth it, but it was just weird. I kind of felt like when I reset, I almost forgot how to decorate. So you'll see me playing around with a lot of different furniture and items and custom codes throughout this video. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and if you like content like this and you want to see more of it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for future videos. So what I'm doing right now is just going around and trying to terraform the cliffs that I want around my entrance. The reason why I picked this map was because it enabled me to have a lot of space to work with before you would reach my resident services. So I really like map layouts like that. I feel like it's where I can be most creative with my terraforming. So I'm just kind of going around and playing with the cliffs and seeing how big I want them, because I wanted to be able to fit some trees in front of them. So that's just what I'm working on right now. And then I also like to mix it up with my terraforming and decorating. I don't do everything all at once. I kind of like to see what different items will look like in the area. So if you see me going back and forth a lot, that's the reason why I do that. I typically like to have a little seating area by my entrance, but the items that I had, they just weren't looking like they fit the space, so I switched it up for this entrance. I decided to just decorate it with trees and flowers. I figured since I typically have seating areas, why not switch it up, because this is a new island. And then I'm just removing these flowers because I wanted to add a mush parasol here, surrounded by this really pretty floral circular lace code. I like this lace code because I feel like it brings a lot of pretty colors, putting it next to this dirt path. That's another tip that I wanted to give you guys, is that if you're using a dirt path, be sure to keep it. I mean, obviously you can do whatever you want, it's your own island, but I like to keep them smaller and shorter, because if you make them too big, it just looks like it's just kind of like a blah kind of look. It just doesn't look interesting or colorful, and I personally don't like it. I like to make it smaller so I can add in colorful items or flowers next to it. And right here, I'm just doing my favorite little trick, opening up the camera app so I can get a better view of the area, just seeing what spots that I've missed. And then I decided to go ahead and decorate this cliff to the left of my entrance. I'm just filling it in with some pretty codes and flowers, and then adding in some butterfly models as well. I had kind of been contemplating whether or not I wanted to have this space closed off, but for now I kept it closed off. On my other islands I had it to where you could walk either to the left or right and access the beaches, but I kind of like this closed in feel for this island. I'm pretty happy with how this first level is turning out. So now I'm just kind of looking at it again and then realizing that I need to go ahead and decorate the cliffs where the waterfalls are. So some ideas for items to use on top of cliffs are trees, flowers, bushes, a lot of small items I really like to use on cliffs. And just remember, if you're going to use trees, be sure to give yourself enough space. I personally like to space out my trees a lot, so typically when I am building a cliff, I will need to make it probably 2 or 3 times larger than I had originally planned because of the limitations on where you can place trees. I really wish they would just let us place them right next to each other. I feel like that would be such a cute idea, but for now I am just terraforming some more cliff space because I wanted to add in some more trees up here. So this is what I mean by spacing out the trees. I kind of have that cedar tree on the left. It's a little bit in front of the hardwood tree in the back, and then I have the small stunted tree right in front. I just like it how that looks. It looks really layered, and it breaks up the space nicely, so I can go back in and then add some pretty little items to decorate with. So that's just another tip for when you're planting trees. If you like how this looks, just be sure to space out your trees and kind of stagger them so it'll give it a more layered feel. So right here I am just placing down a pretty little daisy code so I can go ahead and set a mush item on top of it. That's another thing I just wanted to add in is don't forget to use codes on your second or third level tier cliffs. I like using codes as a great way to fill up the space as well, especially on your cliff tops. So right here, after I placed down that code, I'm testing out the mush parasol. I didn't really like how that looked. It was a bit too short, so I went ahead with just the mush platform from the Mario update, and I like how that looked placed next to the green trees and then the other smaller mushroom platform. I do eventually end up going back in later and switching it out to just a regular mush parasol. As you can tell, I'm really picky and kind of indecisive with my decorating, but that's part of the fun of it. It is all just a lot of trial and error for me, so don't be afraid to test out different items, and if you don't like how they look, you can always go ahead and go back in and change them. I did just want to make a quick note about this video. It did take me quite a bit of time to decorate this area. I think like 1 or 2 days in real life, so if you see me at certain points in the terraforming construction outfit and then not, just know that's because I took a break from decorating and came back to play at a later time. I will try and work on being a bit more consistent in my future videos with this, but this build took me, like I mentioned, a long time, and instead of trying to force myself to do it all at once, I took a couple breaks in between these builds because I feel like that allows me to be more creative, especially when I'm struggling with an area. Like just taking a break, whether it's like for 20 minutes or just taking the rest of the night off. I think that's a really important tip that I wanted to share is if you're getting frustrated and the area you're working on isn't coming together, just give yourself a break. Remind yourself that, you know, it is a game after all, so there's no need to really overly stress yourself out about a certain area on your island. If it doesn't come together the very first time you do it, it's okay to make mistakes and then try again later. So now I am just going back in and decorating the top of this cliff. I just went ahead and added some finishing touches with the flowers and then the mush partition. I think that's how you say it, partition. And then I ended up changing this flower over here. I didn't like the two pink hyacinths right next to each other, and I added in that cute little bunny day topiary. So I thought that looked a bit nicer in this area, so it wasn't too much pink in one certain section of this cliff. I like to definitely mix it up a bit. As you can see, even now I'm still swapping out items and testing different flowers. Like I mentioned, my process with decorating does take quite a bit of time, but it is much more rewarding in the end. Right here, I am just playing around with some different pathing, how I want this area to look when it transitions into the little walkway by my house. So I'm just seeing how I like this brick pathing and seeing if it looks good next to the area I just decorated. I would really like to do a transition area video. If that's something that you would like to see, please leave a comment down below. That's definitely an area I struggled with a lot when I first started playing Animal Crossing, but I think with just time and practice, you definitely get better at it, so I can make a video about that if you're interested. Now I'm just experimenting with this little cliff edge code right here. I tried so hard to make this work, but I don't know, it doesn't look good on any of my islands. I think I had that code in like one section on my old island Wildwood, but I'm just not able to make it look good like other people can, so I just decided to fill it in with that brick path instead. And then I will be going in and adding just some singular fencing. I like the look of just one single piece of fence. I think I've mentioned that before in my other videos. It just breaks up the area nicely without having a whole row of fencing. You'll see me in this video a lot walking back and forth through the start of my entrance. I kind of like to get a feel for how the area is when you're walking through it. So if you see me just randomly running back and forth, that's why I want to be sure that the items I'm adding in this transition area mesh well together with the first part of my entrance that I created. So that's why I was able to fit in that tree. It was staggered nicely behind the stunted hardwood tree. One item that I need to remember to incorporate on this island are the wind turbines. I really feel like those items give my island the theme of metalcore. That's just kind of what I have pictured in my mind. Like if you're in like a very natural area in real life, you're gonna see a lot of wind turbines with a lot of flowers everywhere. So that's why I put that wind turbine right there. So I am just going to grab a couple more flowers. I know I had mentioned that I'm going to try and keep this out of my videos as much as possible, and I still plan to do that, but for this clip, it just looked really awkward if I cut that out and then I was on top of this cliff. Obviously, I'm still learning with video editing, and I'm sure there's a way that I could have made that transition a bit smoother, and I will definitely try to work on that for my next video. But for this video, since the flower field that I had at the time of recording this was so close to my entrance, I feel like keeping some of that in is okay, just so you guys aren't watching this and 1 second I'm on one part of my entrance and the other second I'm on top of a cliff. So just a little note about that and why you're seeing me run and get flowers. So now that I have the cliff tops filled in nicely, it's just really the sides of the cliffs that I need to decorate. And let me tell you, this is what I was talking about in the beginning of the video, where I kind of felt like I forgot how to decorate areas, because this little side area, what is it, like 4x5 spaces or 4x3 spaces, took me so long to figure out. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me, or if it was just because I hadn't decorated in quite a bit of time, but I definitely am trying out a bunch of different items when I decorate this like tiny bit of space. So I hope you guys enjoy watching that process for me, because honestly it kind of felt a little bit like torture. So this is kind of what I was talking about. I just couldn't figure out why this wasn't coming together. I didn't like the log chair there, and then I switched it out with a rocking chair, but after I sat and looked at the rocking chair, I didn't like that either because I felt like the color was just, it blended in with the cliff too perfectly. So looking back now, I probably could have just customized the rocking chair to a different color and it would have looked fine. And I think at this point I probably should have taken another little break in filming, but I was just so excited to get this area decorated that I just decided to persevere on through. But there will be a lot of different items you'll see me testing out here. And I think another issue I was having was the blanket coat that I'm using. It was just a bit too light. It's a beautiful coat, don't get me wrong, but I didn't feel like it looked right with some of the items. But I think eventually I just decided to kind of leave it be and start decorating the area around it. So that's why I'm adding in this plant right here. I really like this variation of that monstera plant, the orange and yellow. Those colors complement each other really well, so I just went with that. And then here I'm just adding in a little stunted tree and removing the hyacinth so I can keep that tree stunted. Right now, I'm just trying to decide what codes I want to put in this little area. Once again, looking back on this video, I probably could have just filled it with flowers. I think that would have made this small little section end up coming together more quickly, but when I was decorating and terraforming this area, I knew my island theme, but I wasn't quite sure how I was going to execute that. So hindsight is always 20/20, but I think next time if I run into another space like this, I'm going to just leave it be and just not even decorate it, just so I don't struggle so much with one in particular area. So now I'm just doing another little walkthrough and checking out the camera view of this area to make sure that I like it. So now I am just putting in the last little finishing touches on this area, and I will take you guys through a final walkthrough at around 6:37 a.m. I am quite pleased with how my entrance turned out. I really like the final result, even though it did take me quite a bit of time. So if you all have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out when you do that. And if you want to be notified of my future videos, go ahead and hit the little bell icon next to the subscribe button. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching my videos. I will see you in the next one. Bye.